Hi, we're the Heart Collective based in Los Angeles, California, streaming through the universe, and I'm Taryn.
I'm Rhoda.
I'm Liz B. We are reframing definitions through heart-centered conversations.
Our word today is aware. And by definition, to be aware is to have knowledge, perception, or realization of something.
When I think of awareness, I think of mindfulness. But in the definition that you had stated, it's more than just being mindful of the things that are happening, but actually making connections about maybe the meaning of it or the effects that it may have.
Yeah, I feel like awareness is a topic that's on a lot of people's minds and lips right now. There's obviously a lot going on in the world that a lot of people are talking about, but I think that self-awareness is incredibly important too. Like to be aware of oneself first and foremost. I think is as important as being aware of what's going on in the world. And I think both are equally as beneficial and equally as challenging. I think it takes a lot of courage and also humility to be aware of oneself. Just as much courage as it does to kind of look behind the veil and see what's going on in the world that we may not want to see. But looking at oneself and seeing the reality of our own lives and behaviors and actions and the words that come out of our mouths and the thoughts that are in our minds, I think that those things really condition our lives and the lives of those around us. And so I think that awareness is instrumental to being an evolved, conscious person who's authentic. Like, really taking stock of our own lives and how we behave and think and looking at things honestly is really key.
Two words that really resonate when you spoke is courage and honesty. Because we can have different levels of perception of something, right? But how do we interpret that something with courage and honesty also will play out in how that resonates outside of ourselves, either that being self-awareness of our own thoughts, mind, actions, connections, interferences, or what's going on around us. And if anything, this year has been asking so much courage, right?
Oh, yes.
So much courage just to wake up one more day and go, what's going to happen today?
Right.
You're so right. Yeah.
Is that the wind or the creek?
I think the creek. We're sitting near a creek.
Wow.
So peaceful here.
The courage to be in this space of not knowing if it's the creek or the wind. Is this going to end with the election?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and these are all good questions. And I think that the foundation that gives us that courage, once we really look in the mirror at ourselves, for better or for worse, and looking at taking the good and the bad, and embracing it, seeing the light and the shadow side. We're looking at the reality of our relationships, or maybe it may be like the job you don't like, or the family that, you need to take or the relationships we need to take a look at and get real about. I think that awareness, it is a virtue that can carry us through hard times. And it may not feel good at first or ever, but it is something, it's like character. It serves you, I think.
That was good.
Yeah. Word that stood out to me when you were talking was humility. Because I think awareness requires a responsibility for us to really take stock of the effects that we have on each other, and also just the understanding that we are all connected. And what does that mean? How does our choices affect other people?
Yeah. And that can be a tough pill to swallow sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's better than I think we all agree. We've discussed this off camera before, that's the right way. The right way is being honest and real, right? Because how can we be real and honest about what else is going on in the world if we can't start that within ourselves, in our own lives?
Yeah. Be the change you want to see in the world to the minimum and to the smallest little things that we can do. Yeah. And self-awareness being the key to open that door to the limitless possibilities of how can we be better today, and not from this consumerist like standpoint of always trying to achieve for something, but surrendering to this the deep inner knowing, right, and trust, and surrendering that there is something that's beyond our littleness, but how much our quote unquote littleness impacts everything and everyone.
I also want to
Responsibility.
I also want to bring up cognitive dissonance because it's coming up a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I think when you are being mindful and taking stock of everything around and bring it back to self-awareness, critical thinking, and making those certain connections, there's going to be things that are going to be very uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where the courage comes in too, right? To be able to set aside everything that you've known and just to even like take notice of that uncomfortableness and be able to be okay with it and also entertain another perspective.
So true.
Yeah.
Here we
Sounds
go.
like you have a lot to say about that, Liz.
I'm laughing because I feel like I've been faced with so much of that this year, you know, and I feel like it's interesting when we notice that place of ultimate discomfort, right? When something of a structure or an idea is just so natural, and all of a sudden that's questioned. And where do I stand in that? Right?
Yeah.
And how much we've identified ourselves with ideas, concepts, institutions, people, and all of a sudden those things get questioned. So I feel like our existence at a level, at a very primal level, gets questioned too. Am I even real? Am I even whatever? Right? In different levels, but it gets me. At the same token that there's a discomfort, I feel an excitement.
I love that.
Of the possibilities.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, of like, oh, so if that's not real, wow, what is real?
Yeah.
You know, I
Right.
get kiddish almost.
Yes.
Like, and I can say something in regards to that, like a very touchable thing, right? So with everything that's been going on, the whole germ theory has been questioned, at least in the circle that, you know, of the people that I listen to and the people that I partake in conversations with, and like when we talk about things, and something that is like, how does one question that? We all grew up thinking that this is how something is, right? And something very basic and primordial that our survival depends on. Right? There's a threat to our survival when you think about germs and viruses and all of that. And when I started to get into these conversations, and either by participating in them or talking or listening to them or, reading about them, I got really excited. So what is this? And then you're exposed to terrain theory, which is not something I was exposed now. But when you put those two things together, you understand a little bit more of how one can kind of like just be ready to go, and one can take a bigger role in how we live and how we communicate with the earth and each other, and how symbiotic that relationship is, and how we've been I don't even know if this word exists, but we've been toxified.
Yes.
Right? So we've been attacked. And so when you understand that there is an external threat with the way we live our lives, chemically, toxically, and the things we put on our bodies, in our bodies, and you understand a little bit more. I don't want to make that conversation too long, but getting to the point of it, once that whole germ theory was being questioned and talked about, and then, the rise of a better understanding for me of terrain theory, and it was like, oh, but wow, and I think it's important to remember that nothing dies without something being born, because that's the cycle, right? And not that terrain theory is new, but if we're allowing for something that really we understand better to just go,
right,
and allow for something that makes more sense to coexist with, being more universal and more connected, we can also give space to that sense of awe and wonder.
That's wonderful. And I love what you said about things sometimes needing to die in order for something new to be born, and that's part of evolution. That things cannot stay stagnant and static for evolution to occur, and that goes for us personally. It's like, for us to be aware of what's going on in the world and evolve, we need to first evolve ourselves, be aware of ourselves. For us to question structures that exist in society, we have to first question our own lives and say, well, maybe the way I was raised isn't the way I want to raise my children. Maybe what I learned, or what political party that I'm so attached to, or ideology that I'm so attached to, or maybe that was an inherited ethic. And maybe I haven't thought that through. Maybe I haven't thought through, my relations in my life. And are they really for my highest and best good? And am I for theirs? And these are questions that we all need to ask ourselves at certain times in life. But as you said, Liz, like letting some of those things die gives us the opportunity to grow. And you do get that freedom, and you get that childlike excitement where you're like, wow, the possibilities of what I'm able to be and do just opened up so much more than this structure, this little confined capsule that I was living in of, I'm this person that has this job and has this family and comes from this town, and I'm, people think of me that way. And why does it need to be that way? Like, why do things need to be so, you don't need to live your life in a safety deposit box where anything different than what has been done or what you're taught or what you think things to be is dangerous. And I think that a lot of people are awakening to that awareness right now, hopefully, and that's come through self-awareness, because that does open up saying, maybe there are things going on that do need to die. Maybe there are structures and ways of being, and maybe things are run in a way where it is not conducive to anyone's benefit. And maybe we need to, in order to evolve, we need to have awareness of the fact that some things need to be leveled and rebuilt. And I think that a lot of us are at that point right now in our own lives and looking at greater society. And it's an interesting time to be alive.
Yeah.
An opportunity for a lot of growth and evolution if we take that step of awareness, I think. Like real radical, relationship with truth. Not the truth that we want to see in the mirror.
Right.
Not the truth we want to see about what goes on in the world, but like really looking behind the veil and seeing what's really there.
Right.
Right. Oh, wait, yeah. And to add to, it's exciting times to be alive. It's also terrifying times to be alive. It's also extremely demanding times to be alive, right? If you are committed to that, because the work of courage and humility and responsibility is a big work.
Oh, yeah.
It's big.
And it may require you to, just like I think it may require us to collectively change the way a lot of things are done in the world.
Right.
I think that many of us need to individually change the ways we're living and what we're seeing and what we're allowing into our worlds as reality.
Yeah. It's this time, I mean, the entire world, when has that ever happened? The entire world has stopped.
Yes.
And it's like
Right.
a perfect opportunity for awareness, self-awareness, and also questioning.
Yeah.
Because I'm hearing that awareness gives birth to the willingness to see other perspectives, but also to dream, to think up new things, to be excited, to be curious.
So true.
We've never had the time to just sit and think about these things and to really take stock.
So true. Yeah, and I think that it can be, you're right, it can ask a lot of us, but I think, as you just said, Rhoda, it can really have a huge reward too. And that the courage and humility that it takes to really see ourselves and the reality of our own lives in the world. I think that the dark night of the soul that may come along with that and all the healing and truth that requires, it's tough work. And that's why, some people just don't do it because it's tough. But that does leave you with just beautiful opportunities on the other side. And I think this is a nice button we can, I hope, collectively decide to hit the reset button on a lot of things with. But it starts with us.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. And also remembering that there is not a timeline for that kind of work, because at times you may feel bathed in complete despair, and the next moment you can be in total wonder. So allowing ourselves to navigate through that and have enough support to say, it's brutal right now.
Yeah.
I'm really going down in that, feeling of just, which I was sharing with you before you got here, but just of like, dude, it's like each thing, it's its own mountain to be climbed, right? Awareness about political structures, institutions, the manipulation that comes with that, and then narratives that we've been sold on global levels to push certain agendas that we thought were beneficial, words that have been prostituted and weaponized. And how do we discern through all that and fluctuate in all those streams that are all going to take us to the same river with just a heart, right? Beyond anything, and like intuition and really connecting to guidance, that being physical friends guidance, but also spiritual guidance and things beyond our capacity to understand and see, and learn how to navigate these times. And I feel like it's going to be an ongoing process. It's not like we learn and then we're like, we're good, because it's continuously changing, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And we almost, I feel like sometimes we see things so clearly, and then it gets micro again, because you look, you go, wow, and then I want to look really closely at that, right? And then you lose perspective, and then you have to go, oh, okay, well, there's this, that. I know I do it. And so just being able to navigate all of that with compassion for oneself, with a good, hopefully friends one can talk about, because it can be isolating. It can be extremely isolating if you don't have community and support, and really to reach out to the people that share, those same concerns and thoughts with you, that may not be your closest friend.
Sure.
But you may find support and community in those places as well. I mean, I think about everything that's happening and how I found not personal support, because we have each other, and family and other friends, but I see our grid in different parts of the world, and it's just so reassuring. Like, oh yeah, we've got each other.
Yeah.
Right.
It's really beautiful, actually. I'm hearing too that awareness provides expansion, because we're expanding perspectives, and if you're growing your awareness, you're growing the capacity to hold different realities. And so there's an ease to be able to move in these different paradigms, and also be able to entertain different things.
Yeah.
And that's really going to be necessary for us
Yes.
to create something new, to have that wider perspective, and to kind of destroy everything that that we had before, and to think up something better.
So true. And I think that ability to hold space for different alternative realities or alternative ways of being or doing things, or alternative narratives, and I think that, as you said, that will only serve us well. And I think that, if I could wish something for everyone right now, it would be to allow ourselves that, because I think that, as you said, Liz, this time is asking a lot of us, and I think that we're in a space where that's not just going to stop. I don't care who gets elected. No one is going to come and save everyone with a cape, and all the bad guys are going to be gone. We have collectively agreed that what has happened has been okay, either by not looking at it, by being unaware, by turning the other way, or some people have actively taken part and encouraged that system to be that way. And it may hurt to know that we may know some of these people, or we've paid for some of these products. But it is a reality that we have all collectively co-created. So being aware of ourselves and who we really are, not who we want to be, or who we want, our wife or our kids or our, husband or our friends to think we are, but who we really are and what we can offer people in our lives and the community and society as a greater whole. And having awareness and being okay with the truth, even when it feels horrible. And looking at it as, that's really hard to look at, and it's really hard to hear about. But, as you both have mentioned, that opens a door to new possibilities. And I think that the sooner we all get comfortable with that, the sooner we can start building something that is a decent, sane reality. Because it just is not set up that way right now. And I think that no matter what anyone's perspective is on the way the world works, I think we can all look at flaws in the system that aren't okay. From our own perspectives, it may be schooling, animal rights, the food system, social services, or you can say it's the entertainment industry or finance or banking or politics. Or you can say all of it, or land management or indigenous rights or water rights, like or rights of children, it's infinite. But that awareness brings the opportunity to create new realities in our own lives and in the greater world.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that so beautifully, and to point out so many instances where we need attention to. It makes me think of feelings, and how I fully believe that the only way through is the only way out is through. Like it's almost a birth that needs to happen in the sense of like this great calling of just look at me, right? Look at me for what I am. Look at me for what I have done. Look at me for the way I've been structured. Just look at me. Because if we look at it, we can understand why, from what is the structure looks like. So we're not trying to create something on top of something that maybe the structure and the foundation, it's not deserving of that anymore.
Yeah.
And we can really move beyond things that have just not worked for most of the people of the earth. You know,
Yeah.
a system that has been designed to benefit a few and to oppress the majority of us. And I think because of the lack of rooted self-empowerment, we've identified ourselves too extensively with things outside of ourselves.
Yes.
And when that feels threatened, then we have a crisis because we feel, again, primordially threatened. So I feel like I finally discovered the business I'm in, which is empowering people to connect with their essence, because when you're connected with yourself like that, you can't really be manipulated.
So true.
You can't be ruled without reasoning and heart.
Yeah.
Right.
And we really need to claim our humanity back. We need to understand our role on this earth. We've prostituted the earth and its resources, and we need to find a symbiotic way to coexist with not only Mother Earth, but each other. Because we are this big organism, right? And the structures have been almost like from the beginning created as cancer cells that just multiply,
So true.
invade, and dominate, and kill,
So true.
and oppress.
So true.
And I don't think that we can find the cure through the system that created the disease.
You're so right.
So we are gonna need to step out and and understand the big picture of that, so we can go, well, that mechanism is good if it's intended with righteousness and respect, but we can't just take the whole system and try to patch different things, because the system itself doesn't feel benevolent.
No. You're right. The system is built on well orchestrated and well organized systematic evil.
Right.
And you're right, it is built for the benefit of a small minority. And I think we need to imagine a new reality that is good for all. This myth of there not being enough resources for everyone, we're overpopulated. No, there's a massive, and I'm an environmentalist, there's a massive distribution of resources.
Absolutely.
And I think that it doesn't just happen in third world countries, it happens in first world countries. It is across the board the way things have been structured. And I think that what you said, Liz, is completely accurate. It is a broken, diseased system, and letting something like that die and having awareness of it and looking at it and saying, you know, maybe I've been sold a bill of goods that buying all those clothes and putting on makeup and coloring my hair will make me feel whole or pretty, or maybe buying that car isn't going to make me feel like I'm 20 again.
Right.
Or, you know, maybe having the 5,000 square foot house isn't going to make, you know, my husband love me.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, we have to get back to what's important and decent and good and wholesome, and not, you're right, when you heal yourself and you have that awareness,
Yeah.
you're not going to be led around with the carrot on the stick of, ooh, look at the new movie, look at this
Right.
manufactured superstar, look at that new stuff you can buy that, by the way, is made by a slave
Yeah.
and
Yeah, just
probably
say it
killed a
for what
river.
it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, let's get
Yes.
real.
Let's
Those
get
are
real.
just
Yeah.
products and things that are making someone else wealthy.
The system is
Exactly.
run on escapism,
Mm.
on us needing escape or thinking that we need to escape.
So true.
And so when we pull back and we're gaining our own freedom through awareness, self-awareness, and also awareness of what's behind the veil, then we can start thinking about change. But it isn't until then that
So
can
true.
happen.
Yeah. I love what you just said there, Rhoda, that awareness means freedom. And it does provide
Yes,
that.
it does
Yeah.
provide
Tough
that,
it is,
yeah.
but it does, believe it or
Right.
not, if you get real, you get free.
Yeah,
It really.
Right.
Mm.
I love that. If you get real, you get free.
And that's our
just
quote.
Mic drop. No, but it's true because when you're
Yeah.
going through
Yeah.
awakening or, self-discovery or self-realization, there's that moment where you're taking stock of yourself and it's painful to look at yourself in that way, right? And now we're doing it collectively.
Oh yeah.
We're going through this period where we're looking at, wow, I mean, we know this from becoming vegan, right? Like there's a switch that turns on and you're like, oh my God, I did that. I added to that industry. I added to that suffering.
Yeah.
I caused that to happen. And it hurts and it's shameful and it's painful to like take that in as something that you've actually taken part in.
Yeah.
True.
And that's just one element of it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
food and clothing.
Yeah.
But then there's like a whole myriad of things. Like some people aren't even aware of the US banking system and how taxes work. And, or even if they do, they turn a blind eye to it. But no one's ever poking at it and thinking, or very few of us
Right.
are, and thinking, wait, hold on a minute. This is not cool.
Exactly.
Not cool, bro. Not cool.
It's not okay.
Wait, whoa.
Yeah. So now we're kind of coming to a place collectively where we're not only becoming aware of it, but also having the opportunity and maybe feeling the strength to stand together,
Yes.
which is new and exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So exciting. And I think that, we, like you mentioned, it hurts to look at that at first and say, oh gosh, well, I didn't know this. My favorite t-shirt was made by 9-year-olds chained to a sewing machine. Like, that sucks. I funded that brand for years.
Right.
Or, gosh, I didn't know that, what was going on in that film studio, that I really liked all those films being made. Or
Yeah.
I just didn't know that the makeup I was buying or skincare had palm oil in it, and they're, bulldozing thousands of acres of forest constantly for it. And it's like, it's okay. The system has been set up for us not to see that. So let's all get aware about ourselves, right? First step,
Yeah.
get real about that.
Yeah.
Then see, the system and where we've taken part in it, either through being complacent, like, looking at it and instead of saying, well, that's just the way it's done.
Right.
Saying, well, that's true. That is the way it's done, but that doesn't mean it's the best way. I mean, look at how many things have changed throughout history for the thousands of years. An example, toilets used to be either a hole in the ground or you use the restroom in a bowl and throw it out your window into the street. I think we've evolved. So there are many examples we can all look at of coming up with new ideas and evolving. And I think although this is much more challenging because it's a very integrated, well-planned, well-executed system that's been operating for a long time, very smart people at the helm, I think that as a collective mass, we can imagine new ways of doing things and build them. And it's so exciting. And all it takes is awareness,
Right.
the humility and courage of awareness.
Yeah. To be okay with feeling the discomfort and the guilt. And by the way, we've also been taught, that those things are shameful. And just to be with that shame.
Sure.
It's okay to be like, damn, yeah, I did that. I do that. It's by design. It's not an unforeseen consequence that most people are not asking the questions, are not paying attention, are not, just thinking a little bit further down the road. And yeah, I keep coming back to courage. The courage to be uncomfortable, the courage to be disliked, the courage to
Go
seek-
against the grain.
to go against the
Change your
grain,
life.
to change
Leave your
things.
life.
The courage to not numb out, the courage to look, into things that are not pleasant, and the courage to imagine possibilities and to really bring forth the change, because a lot of times it's easier to be in that quote unquote comfort zone,
Yeah.
right? But to create change, it does require us to stand up and be uncomfortable until we can then settle again in moments. But if anything, the discomfort can be exciting, as we've talked about. So
Yeah. I think we all need to collectively leave the bad job that we hate and the bad marriage that we're stuck in. That is the metaphor for this life that we find ourselves in, individually and collectively, that may not be right for anyone.
right.
And be okay with that, as you said. Like, have the courage to change, to start again, to leave the life you've had and start a new one. Accept that just because things have been done a long time a certain way does not mean they're good. And this is the time when we have the opportunity to change. So I think that everyone can be inspired by that, no matter how tough it is.
Yeah.
Amen. And
So, what are some of the practices that any of you have done to notice, first of all, that maybe we've numbed out, or certain practices to come back to awareness?
I'd like to start with find something that you enjoy doing and that you can be disciplined about, because I think discipline, sometimes it's the grit that most people need. It's to find something that they feel like they can commit themselves to. And that could be writing 5 minutes every day. That could be running around the block every day. That can be a cup of tea in the morning when I first wake up, to just be with my feelings. It's going to look different for everybody. But I do feel like discipline is a great starting point, because you start to create a sort of routine, an expected sense of security, that even though you're moving through the world that you have no control of, in a large scale, you can still have control about how you choose to start your day or finish your day or go about your day. And just, I think, one mindful step in that, I think it's a big deal and an easy place to start. And it can be as pleasurable as you want. Doesn't need to be, excruciating. It can be, I'm going to have a cup of tea with myself at 5 every day, no matter what happens, or whatever that looks like. And then I can go into deeper practices of just stopping and taking 3 long breaths at every moment that you find yourself off-centered, or that something hits you and you don't know what happened.
Right.
Just that alone, take a moment to just notice how that made you feel.
Yeah, that's my favorite method, just because it's so simple. I find just checking in, wow, why am I feeling so off right now?
Right.
Or maybe I've been in my mind. And to just take notice of being where my physicality is, like how things feel physically. What? Because I can sit here on a rock, and if I'm in my mind, I'm not even gonna feel it, you know. But if I'm sitting in my body, and there's that awareness of who I am, where I am, just in that base level, then it's a good start.
Yeah.
I love those both. Do we have a quote we'd like to close with, or any words?
Rhoda has a good one.
I guess
Oh,
it's
yeah.
more of a little joke. So, what do you get when you teach a wolf to meditate?
Dun, 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 dun.
A werewolf. Get it?
Werewolves, your time has come. So wonderful to spend time together and to be conversing and exchanging, and from wherever you're listening to, being a part of this conversation. Start having these conversations with your friends and with yourself. And we have so much capacity and so much power within ourselves to really create something beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are the Heart Collective.
Yes, we are.
The Heart Collective is an initiative based in Los Angeles, California, and working globally to foster self-actualization and earth peace via self-peace through our nonprofit offerings and workshops. You can find us online at heartcollective.org, on Instagram at heart.collective, and wherever you find your favorite podcast.